Неловко даже об этом спрашивать, наверное, но вот целый президент целой Эстонии сказал, что Россию нужно поставить на колени. Официально.
Захарова уже ответила, что было бы забавно посмотреть, как это будет делаться. Добавить нечего.
This is my video update on this Tuesday, midday, May the 28th. Let's talk about some news. And let's start things off with Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister. Looked like he was at some event. Sitting behind him was Zarubin, who is Putin's favorite reporter. He's the guy that always interviews Russian President Vladimir Putin. And he asked Lavrov his thoughts on the president of Estonia saying that they will bring Russia to its knees. And Lavrov's response to this question from Zarubin was that Maria Zakharova has already commented on the Estonian president's remarks about bringing Russia to its knees. And Lavrov added that it would be fun to watch how exactly Estonia was going to do this. It would be fun to watch how they want to do that. That is the response from Lavrov. And as Lavrov was replying to Zarubin's question, you could see the fear and terror in his eyes, the trembling of his voice, contemplating the powerful Estonia bringing Russia to its knees. You know that Lavrov is very afraid of Estonia and Kaja Kallas. You could see that he was shaking just thinking about the power of Estonia directed, the full force of Estonia directed at Russia. Lavrov is very, very worried and concerned. Yeah, all right. So from Lavrov, let's now get very serious and talk about the airstrike in Rafah, the Israeli airstrike into a designated safe zone for refugees who were living in tents in this safe zone. And a couple of days ago, Israel launched an airstrike into this safe zone, and 45 people, I believe, have been killed and 105 total casualties confirmed at the UN designated safe zone in Rafah. Israel claimed that they were going after 2 Hamas officials, and that's who they were targeting in this airstrike. The videos and images from Rafah after this airstrike, with everything on fire, are absolutely horrific. I won't even get into the details of the video because it's too gruesome to even describe. But we have an Israeli update on this Rafah airstrike. Israel updates us on Rafah massacre. Shrapnel hit a fuel tank, causing mass inferno in refugee camp. That is the Israeli update on this airstrike in a Rafah refugee UN safe zone. A lot of outrage, even from the collective West. The German Foreign Office, they are calling for an investigation. Germany calling for an investigation. They can't even figure out what happened in Nord Stream with Nord Stream, and they're calling for an investigation into Rafah. Okay. we had Macron. Macron even put out a statement on Twitter X saying that he was horrified with what happened in Rafah. Borrell said that he will stop referring to Israel as Israel when talking about the war in Gaza. He will refer to it as the Netanyahu government and not refer to all the actions that are taking place in Gaza as the Israeli government. He will refer to it as the Netanyahu government. From today, I will no longer say Israel, but the Netanyahu government. Okay, Burrell, it's okay for us to say the Netanyahu government or the Biden White House or stuff like that, but you're the chief diplomat of the European Union. One would think that you have the diplomatic power to affect change, positive change in the Middle East. Instead, you are going to use words like the Netanyahu government. That's going to make a difference, Burrell. But that was Burrell's statement. And I wanted to pull up Macron's post on Twitter X. One second, let me see if I can find what Macron said. He called the images from Rafah heartbreaking and urged Israel to take every precaution possible to protect civilians. He said he was outraged by the death of refugees. That is what the French president posted on Twitter X after seeing the images from the airstrike in Rafah. So I did a video from Napa a couple of days ago where I talked about the ICJ statement calling on Israel to stop its incursion or any planned incursion into Rafah. And I said in that video, citing a Guardian report, which said that the US and the UK, after the ICJ's statement, they are going to further back Israel in its plans towards Rafah. They were going to embolden Israel and allow Israel to go harder into Rafah. That's pretty much what the Guardian was reporting. And I was talking about this article 2 days ago at the monastery in Napa and 3 days ago. And sure enough, that's what's happened. The US and the UK, they seem to be looking the other way when it comes to Netanyahu's plans for Rafah, and we got this airstrike in this designated safe zone tent area. So let's see, what else can we say about this airstrike? According to ABC News, shrapnel from the strike ignited a fuel tank 100 meters away from the intended target, creating a large fire at an encampment housing displaced people. Prime Minister Netanyahu acknowledged the civilian deaths in a speech to Israel's parliament on Monday. Quote, "Despite our utmost efforts not to harm innocent civilians, last night there was a tragic mistake," he said, as quoted by the Associated Press. "We are investigating the incident and will obtain a conclusion because this is our policy." The IDF previously said the strike in the Tel al-Sultan area had killed 2 senior Hamas officials, including the commander of the Palestinian militant group's West Bank headquarters. In a separate statement, the Israeli army insisted that it had taken many steps to reduce the chance of harming uninvolved civilians, including aerial surveillance, the use of precision munitions, and additional intelligence information. It added that no harm was expected to uninvolved civilians. The Times of Israel cited an IDF source as saying that 2 missiles with a reduced in size warhead were used in the strike. Trying to see if I have any more statements here from Netanyahu. Oh, here we go. In his speech on Monday, Netanyahu vowed to continue the fight against Hamas. If we surrender, we will deliver a great victory to terrorism, to Iran, and to the entire axis of evil, those who wish us dead. What does Iran and the axis of evil have to do with launching an airstrike into a designated safe zone, a UN designated safe zone for refugees? The axis of evil. He's actually bringing up the axis of evil, Netanyahu. Oh boy. All right. So that is the news, the update on horrific events in Rafah. Here we go. Analina 360, Analina Baerbock, the smartest, most capable foreign minister. We have to say that because if you call Analina Baerbock the dumbest foreign minister in the world, she will sue you. So she is the smartest, most competent, and most capable foreign minister in the world today, Analina 360 Baerbock. She was speaking at an event marking 75 years of the German Constitution, and anti-war, pro-Palestinian protesters were at this event, and they were asking questions of Analina and her support for Netanyahu and the war in Gaza. And Analina, she performed some interesting mental gymnastics. Analina is, after all, a trampoline. I believe she's a trampoline professional or something like that. She's very good at acrobatics. That's what I know about Analina Baerbock. Before she became the leader of the Green Party and the foreign minister of Germany, she was an acrobatics trampoline superstar. Anyway, she was performing some mental gymnastics as she was discussing Israel and Gaza with these protesters. And when you look at the video, you can see Analina's contempt, is that the right word, for these protesters, for everyday German citizens. You can just see from Analina's body language and her facial expressions that she doesn't really like the plebes, right? I'm trying to think of the word. The common man and the common woman, or the people that dare to question her foreign policy decisions. The German taxpayers and citizens who dare to question her foreign policy decisions. You can see that Analina doesn't really like these people too much. You can definitely see that in her body language. And if you watch the video and listen to the audio, you can see that Analina's just annoyed with these protesters. How dare you question my policies with regard to Israel and Gaza and the war in the Middle East? Analina reminds me of a younger German acrobatic Hillary Clinton, right? You're just waiting for Analina to throw out the deplorables word. You know it's coming. You know it's in her mind. It's on the tip of her tongue to just call them deplorables, but she doesn't quite go there. I believe there was an event. Yes, there was an event about a year and a half ago, where Analina said something along the lines of we don't care what German citizens or German taxpayers want. We're gonna do what we want to do, and that is to continue to give money and support to Ukraine and to the Zelensky regime. So she did say that at some event a year and a half ago. But she really reminds me of a young German trampoline acrobat Hillary Clinton. That is Analina 360. Anyway, check out the video. Listen to what Analina has to say to these protesters. Subtitles are in English. And let's move on now to Project Ukraine. And let's talk about Szijjarto and French military instructors, because there was a report yesterday which claimed that Szijjarto, the commander of the Ukraine military, had signed an agreement with France to send French instructors into Ukraine. This was an agreement that had been signed with Szijjarto. And then we got the Ukraine Ministry of Defense coming out and saying, no, this is not true. We have not signed an agreement with France to bring French military instructors into Ukraine. But the Ministry of Defense did reveal that they are indeed in talks with the French Ministry of Defense to bring French instructors to Ukraine. So they're still talking about it, but they have not signed any deal as of yet. Let me see if I have a quote here. As of now, we are still in discussions with France and other countries on this, Ukraine's defense ministry said in a statement. It added that it had begun internal work on the relevant documents on this issue in order not to waste time in coordinating bureaucratic issues when the relevant decision is made. So going off of this quote, it seems like the Ukraine Ministry of Defense is very confident that France will indeed say yes to sending instructors to Ukraine. The Ministry of Defense said that they are in talks with Sébastien Lecornu, the French defense minister, to get those French trainers to Ukraine. 1 week, we're getting a statement saying that there are going to be no French trainers in Ukraine. The next week, we get a statement saying that there are going to be French trainers in Ukraine. Which one is it? Is this part of Macron's strategic ambiguity? On again, off again, French instructors to Ukraine. Just send the French instructors to Ukraine, Macron. You know you want to. Send those French instructors to Ukraine and see what happens. It's not going to be good. Not going to be good at all. But well, there we are. That's the update on French instructors to Ukraine. So Szijjarto had to walk back his claim that he had signed a document, an agreement for French instructors to come to Ukraine. I wonder if there really was a document that Szijjarto signed. I wonder if he really did sign a document, and because Szijjarto kind of has a big mouth, he talks a lot of smack. I wonder if they were supposed to keep that document quiet until the French instructors arrived into Ukraine. But Szijjarto opened up his mouth, and now they have to kind of walk everything back. I don't know, something strange going on here. So the foreign minister of Hungary, Peter Szijjarto, he is warning that NATO wants war with Russia. That is what Szijjarto said when he was speaking to the media on Monday. And it's not only that NATO wants war with Russia, but according to the foreign minister of Hungary, NATO wants to send European soldiers into Ukraine to fight Russia, Hungarian soldiers into Ukraine to fight Russia. And for Szijjarto and for the Orbán government, this is a no-go. No way, according to Szijjarto, are Hungarian soldiers going to be sent to Ukraine to fight Russia. We see how Ukrainians want to escape from Ukraine. We see that they do not want to go to the front and face certain death, Szijjarto said. I talked about this in a video I made 2 days ago about how Ukrainian military-aged men are escaping to Hungary, and they're hiding out in Hungary because they're scared about being sent to the front lines, because the lifespan of a recruit being sent to the front lines for the Ukraine military is around 3 hours. I talked about this in a video from 2 days ago. Now we are getting the confirmation from Peter Szijjarto, so the reporting was correct. Szijjarto went on to tell reporters that amid Kiev's lack of success on the battlefield, a number of EU members are now proposing increasingly crazier ideas, such as sending their troops to Ukraine or using Western weapons against targets in Russia. Szijjarto warned that such proposals could have very dangerous and tragic consequences, stressing that Budapest vehemently opposes them, particularly ideas regarding mandatory conscription and deployment of NATO troops to Ukraine. Quote, "We understand exactly what the proposal refers to. Ukrainian casualties are becoming more and more unbearable. Men are not being allowed out of Ukraine, and now they want to conscript European youth into the war," he said, noting that young people from Central Europe, including Hungarians, would likely be the first to be sent to the front line due to their geographic proximity. "We do not want to see Hungarian people on the front line of the Ukrainian-Russian war, and we do not want Hungarian youth to be taken to Ukraine because this is not our war. We have nothing to do with this," the minister stressed. These are some really troubling statements from Szijjarto, because he sits in on the NATO meetings, he sits in on the EU foreign minister meetings, and he knows what they're talking about, and he knows what some officials in NATO and the EU want to have happen with the conflict in Ukraine. He knows that they're panicking. He knows that they want to escalate. He knows that they want to go to war with Russia. He sees this. He hears this. And here he is telling the media, no way. No way are Hungarian soldiers going to fight in this war. It is not our war, says the foreign minister of Hungary. Peskov, when he was asked, the Kremlin spokesman, when he was asked about Stoltenberg's statement from the other day calling for NATO member states to green light, to give permission for NATO weapons to hit deep inside of Russian territory, Peskov was asked about this statement from Stoltenberg, and he said that some NATO member states are in a wartime ecstasy. A wartime ecstasy. Those are the words that Peskov used. I think that's a really good way to describe what some NATO member states want to see happen in Ukraine. They want war. They want war with Russia. Two countries that seem to have aligned to push back against escalation with Russia are Germany and Italy. Italy more so than Germany, but the German government spokesman said yesterday that Germany will not participate in a no-fly zone being created in the west of Ukraine. He said for Germany, that would lead into a direct conflict, direct war with Russia. So that is what the German spokesman said with the no-fly zone idea. And I talked about what Italy said yesterday in my video update. Meloni says that Stoltenberg and NATO, they need to tone things down. Salvini said that Stoltenberg should resign. Salvini said that his children will not live in a Europe at war with Russia, something like that. That is what Matteo Salvini said. I really hope that we hear more of Salvini. I think Europe really needs his voice right about now. So Italy and Germany, two countries that appear to be aligning against an escalation towards war with Russia. Of course, we have the Baltic nations, and Poland's Sikorsky very excited about a possible conflict with Russia. Szijjarto said the other day that in an interview that Poland should not rule out sending troops to Ukraine. This is to be expected from Szijjarto. He is a neocon, and he was one of the European Union officials who was in Ukraine in 2014, pushing the Maidan coup. So, much like Nuland, for Szijjarto, Ukraine is kind of his project. Ukraine is kind of like his baby, not as much as Nuland's baby, but it's kind of his creation, Project Ukraine, or he's one of the EU diplomats who was very much involved in the creation of Project Ukraine. So he wants escalation. Of course, we have the Baltic states. They are pushing for escalation. I believe the president of Latvia was giving an interview to CNN's Christian Amanpour, international correspondent and very sophisticated journalist. And the president of Latvia, he was supportive of the idea of NATO weapons being used to hit Russian military targets. The president of Latvia was very clear when he was talking to Christian Amanpour. He said that the NATO weapons will be used to hit military targets, he said. Military targets, not civilian infrastructure. I don't buy it. We know exactly what they're planning to do. We know exactly that they're planning to provoke Russia and to escalate this into a bigger, wider war. And hitting military targets inside of Russia will be considered by Russia as an act of war. But that's the Latvian president there speaking to Christian Amanpour. So Zelensky is on the move. He is traveling. It looks like the U.S. State Department has given Zelensky permission to travel to Spain and to Portugal. He was in Spain yesterday, and I believe today he arrives in Portugal. In Spain, when he arrived in Madrid, I think it was in Madrid, there was no red carpet awaiting Zelensky as he got off the plane. Rightly so, because Zelensky's just an average, normal guy wearing a green sweatshirt. He is not the legitimate president of Ukraine, so there was no reason to roll out the red carpet for Zelensky. But he met with Sanchez, the prime minister of Spain, and Spain has agreed to give Ukraine $1 billion or 1 billion euros worth of weapons, including Patriot missiles. Not the full Patriot system, but Patriot missiles. Spain and Greece have been under an enormous amount of pressure from the United States to hand over their Patriot systems to Ukraine. Greece has so far, on record, Greece has resisted the pressure, saying that they need the air defense systems to protect against Turkey. Spain has indeed agreed to give over Patriot missiles to Kiev, a dozen US-made Patriot anti-aircraft missiles, as well as 19 second-hand German-made Leopard tanks. I believe for Greece, the pressure is for Greece to hand over their S-300 systems, and in exchange, they're going to get Patriot systems or something like that. That's the pressure that's being put on Greece. But for Spain, the pressure is to hand over Patriot systems. So they are going to give a dozen Patriot anti-aircraft missiles. 19 second-hand German-made Leopard tanks. Second-hand. Okay. So all in all, it's a billion euros worth of weapons that Zelensky is getting from Spain. And so when Zelensky arrived in Spain and he addressed the media, Zelensky said, "Hola, España. Yo quiero dinero y quiero comprar muchas casas." Podoliak, is this right? Hola, España. Yo quiero dinero y quiero comprar muchas casas en Madrid. Podoliak, how my Spanish? I'm very good, Mr. President. Your Spanish is very, very good. Mr. Sanchez, Prime Minister Sanchez, muchas gracias for the 1 billion euros in weapon. And because you have given us these weapons, I want to give to you a box of Zelensky number 5. This will keep you smelling very good, Mr. Prime Minister. You are a very handsome man and you need to smell very good. So please take a box of Zelensky number 5. And Mr. Prime Minister, off the record, do you have telephone number of actor Antonio Banderas? I want to give him call and pitch him my movie idea. What do you think, Mr. Sanchez? So now Zelensky is off to Portugal. And in Portugal, he is expected to sign with the government of Portugal a 10-year bilateral security agreement. Something similar to the other bilateral agreements that Ukraine has signed with other EU member states. These 10-year deal things that they're signing. I believe they have one with the UK and with Germany, and I also believe Finland, they have something like that signed, and the Netherlands. Anyway, that is what Zelensky is going to do while in Portugal. And let's do some more stories. Let's talk about some more news topics. And then we'll get to a very quick clown world for today. Now, these next two stories I cannot fully confirm, so I will put them in a type of rumor category. The first story is that there is a human rights organization and a legal organization that is calling on the ICC to go after Ursula von der Leyen. ICC requested to investigate EU Commission Chief for complicity in Gaza genocide. This is coming from Al Mayadeen news outlet. Now, I've gone to the ICC website and I have not seen this request published on their website. A request to investigate Ursula. I have not seen this yet. Maybe they haven't published it. Maybe they will not publish it because it doesn't exist. Maybe they will deny this request, or maybe they will. They will publish it in the near future. I don't know, but we are getting reports that there has been a request made to the ICC to go after Ursula, to Mr. Khan of the ICC, the wrath of Khan. And I imagine when Ursula got the news that there has been a request made to Khan to investigate her, Ursula was probably sitting at her desk in Brussels, and she heard about the request, and she said, "Khan! Khan!" So everyone familiar with the movie Wrath of Khan, can you imagine? Can you imagine like Ursula going, "Khan"? instead of William Shatner. Oh, boy. All right, let's move on to the next rumor, and that is that Donald Trump may be announcing that if he is elected president, he will pardon Julian Assange. Just a rumor, but that is what the word on the street is. It's possible because when he was speaking at the Libertarian Convention, Trump said that if he is elected president, he will pardon Ulbricht, I believe is his name, who is serving a life sentence in prison as the founder of the underground eBay, I guess you could call it, once upon a time known as Silk Road. And on this website, you could purchase a lot of illegal things using Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. I'm not too familiar. I was not very familiar with the site, the Silk Road, but it was on the Tor network, and eventually the FBI, they got to Ross, and he was sentenced to life in prison. Once again, I'm not very familiar with the details of the case, but he's very popular with the libertarian crowd, and when Trump was speaking to them, he said that he would pardon Ross. And it wouldn't surprise me if Trump comes out and announces that he will pardon Julian Assange. We'll see. We will see. And why not? Why not? Because from my understanding, Trump didn't pardon Julian Assange. This is the rumor that I have heard. He didn't pardon Julian Assange because the rhinos, they warned Trump, do not pardon Julian Assange. If you pardon Julian Assange, then we will go after you. We will support the Democrats as they go after you with the January 6 impeachment stuff. And so Trump, he held off on pardoning Julian Assange during his last couple of weeks as president in January. That was kind of the deal, or the threat that was made to Trump. And, the rhinos, they continue to go after Trump, so they've broken their end of the bargain, if there was indeed a bargain made. So I think he should absolutely pardon Julian Assange if he is elected president. We'll see. It's still just a rumor. Anyway, let's do a clown world, and we will wrap this video up. How are we doing on time? Not bad. Not bad at all. And in this clown world, we have the news that Belgium has announced that it will supply Ukraine with 30 F-16 aircraft. 30 F-16 aircraft. That's big news. By 2028. Yep. Ukraine will receive its first F-16s this year. From what I understand, they will get 8 F-16s, and then they will get the remaining, let's see, let's do some Analina Baerbock math. The smartest, most competent and capable foreign minister on the planet. Let's do some Analina math. Let's see, 30 F-16s by 2028, and they will deliver 8 this year. So 30 minus 8 means that once they deliver the first 8, Belgium will have another 22 F-16s to deliver by 2028. Analina Baerbock math never fails. That's the video, everybody. The Duran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, Telegram, Rockfin, and Twitter X. And go to the Duran shop. Pick up some merch, 15% off. Use the code GetReady15. Take care.